Hola a todos. Hoy vamos a aprender sobre el medio ambiente. So hello to everyone. Today we're going to look at the environment, and this is aimed at KS4 Spanish Higher. Okay, so to begin with, you've got this list of vocabulary. This will also be on Google Classroom. If you can, I would pause the video here, take a screenshot of this vocab because you're probably going to want to look at it later on in the lesson. It's very useful. Para empezar, busca los synonymos. So to begin with, I want you to look at synonyms. So the first one, falta de trabajo. We know that falta de trabajo means a lack of work. And if we look at the list to the right, starting up at the top with paro and ending in hogar, lack of work. Now, we know that paro, if we looked at the list before, is unemployment. So those two go together. They are jumbled up. So just take a minute now just to go through and match up 1 to 9 with the list on the right-hand side. Okay, and then we will go through the answers. So pause the video here and have a go at that. If you do that quite quickly, there's also the extension. Usa las frases en una oración sobre esta foto. Deberes usar WPAMO. WPAMO standing for weather, people, action, occasion, mood, opinion. You should know what that means by now, okay? Okay, so hopefully you pause the video prior and we can go through the answers. So I'm going to leave them on the board there. We've got falta de trabajo and paro, escasez de alimentos, hambre, consumo de drogas, drogadicción, desigualdad social, diferencia entre ricos y pobres, trabajo and empleo, techo and hogar, verde ecológico, exceso de peso, obesidad, deforestación, and tala de árboles. Okay? Right, so at this point here, you will probably have to go onto Google Classroom. The resource is quite small, I appreciate, on the left, where you've got the text boxes, but you can zoom in on Google Classroom, or you can pause the screen, take a screenshot, you might be able to zoom in more, okay? So, ¿cuáles son los problemas globales más serios hoy en día? En pareja 1 hasta 4 con A hasta D. So we're going to match up 1 to 4, the text boxes, with A to D. So read the text, what do they mean, and then you need to match them up to the summary word. Underneath that it says, lee los textos del ejercicio uno otra vez, empareja cada problema con uno de los textos. So read the text from activity 1 again, match up each problem, so the text boxes, with one of the words below. So you're doing something quite similar. I'm going to give you a minute, go into Google Classroom, look at the resource, or zoom in, or if you can see it perfectly, fantastic. The next slide you'll see the answers. So have a go at that for me and pause the video. Okay, so we can see the answers here now. So we've got 1 is going with C. It's about el hambre. And you've got a key verb in there. It says nothing and para comer. They don't have, they aren't able to eat, nothing to eat. 2 goes with B, so los animales en peligro de extinción. And there's words in there such as la selva, the forest. You've got especies, species, conservación, conservation. So that's quite useful there. C is perdona, 3, number 3 goes with A, el perro, and 4 goes with D. And then you can also see the bonus questions below. 1 goes with C, 2 with D, 3 with B, and 4 with A. If you've got any problems with those, feel free to email me. You will have my email or Miss Smith, and we can talk you through those answers. But hopefully they weren't too bad using the glossary sheet that you provided with at the beginning of the lesson. Now, you'll have noticed structures in there, or you might have seen a bit of grammar in there that you might not have recognised, or you might not know, or you might have just not even realised, so that's fine. So we're going to look at the present subjunctive today, which is an excellent tense because it's higher level. You touch on it more frequently, I think, at A level and at university. I remember when I was at uni, it's definitely something that I looked at, and at A level, probably more than at GCSE, but it's fantastic because obviously we're going for those high grades and we want to show the examiner how brilliant we are at grammar. So the subjunctive tense is used in lots of instances in Spanish. We don't really use it in English anymore. You wouldn't recognise it as commonly as like the past or the present or the future tense or the conditional tense. But it is a tense that is used frequently in Spanish, and it's linked to grammatical words and grammatical structures. So for example, you use it after the word when in Spanish, so like cuando, but only when you're talking about the future. So for example, cuando sea mayor, when I'm older, me tomaré un año sabático, I'll take a gap year. The sea there is it's the word that comes after when, cuando. It's a verb, I am, coming from the verb ser, to be. Normally we would use soy, wouldn't we? But in this sense, you have to use sea because that's a subjunctive. You also use it with negative commands and formal commands. So, for example, don't eat that, or pass me the salt. You can also use it after. You also use it after feelings, where the structure is es plus the adjective plus que. So, for example, es esencial que, es importante que, es necesario que, no es justo que. So, if we look at a more detailed example, es importante que no malgastemos la energía. It's important that we do not waste energy. Now, if you normally conjugated the verb malgastar, which is to waste, you'd know it's an AR verb. We take off the AR ending, and if it's a we verb, we add an amos to it, don't we, normally? So we would think it would be malgastamos, but because it's a subjunctive, the present subjunctive ending for we forms of the verb is emos. We're going to look at this in more detail in a minute, but I just wanted to go through these examples with you. We also use it after verbs of wishing, commands, request, and emotion, and to express purpose. So, for example, with the verb querer, which is to want, or pedir, to ask for. So, quiero que escuches, I want you to listen. Piden que no hagamos tanto ruido, they ask you that we don't make so much noise. Me alegro que estés aquí, I'm glad you're here. And my favourite time is that we use it after the verb ojalá. Ojalá, it means for like basically I hope, or to wish for something. So ojalá que haga sol, let's hope it is sunny. So these are all great phrases to use in your speaking and writing exams to really show off to the examiner. So why is it important? So knowing some of the situations in which you can use a subjunctive will allow you to be more accurate in your communication in Spanish. If you can use it correctly in your GCSE, it will impress your examiner and add complexity to your speaking and writing. So if you're going for those top grades, those 8s and 9s, you need to think that there will be people that are using it, so you need to be able to use it as well. So things to watch out for. As English no longer uses subjunctive, it won't come to you naturally to you. If you want to use it successfully, you must learn by heart the situations you will need it. So all of those situations that I said before in the previous slide, that's when you use it, and you just have to learn it by heart. So revision, revision, revision. How does it work? So you all know how to conjugate verbs. It's coming from that I, you singular, he, she, it, we, you plural, they structure. So we take the first person singular of the present tense of the verb. We remove the final O and add the ending. So I'm going to explain that again more clearly. So if we take the verb hablar, which means to talk, and we want to say I talk or I speak, essentially, we would say hablo. We know that normally in the present tense, the first person, so the I form, ends in O, like como, juego, hago, bailo, como. All of those verbs end in O. So we first of all write down hablo. Now we take off the O. We take off that final ending. So we always take off the O. And then you add the following ending. So it's two parts before you even get to adding on the endings. First of all, you have the verb. You take off the AR ending for hablar. You take off the AR. Then you add on the O ending. So hablo, so the first person present tense. To put it into the subjunctive tense then, for the I, you singular, he, she, it, we, you plural, they, for AR verbs, so verbs like hablar, you add ESE, hemos, is, en, okay? Same thing for ER verbs. ER verbs, you take off the EE, like comer, you take off the EE. Then if you want to say IE, it's como, isn't it, normally? You remove the O and you add coma, comos, coma, comamos, comais, coman. So a, as, a, amos, is, an. For IR verbs, it's exactly the same as ER verbs, which is nice and easy to remember. If the first person singular is irregular, the subjunctive will take the same form. For example, hago, haga. So if the verb is irregular, so for example, hago is I do, it will still work. You just take off the O and add an A, because the verb hacer, to do, is an ER verb. So I do is hago, you take off the O and you add an A. I know this is going to seem quite complicated, but we are going to practice. So long as you have this, if you keep coming back to this slide, you'll be able to do the practice ones. It's just conjugating. It's just getting your head around removing the endings, remembering your order, I, you singular, he, she, it, we, you plural, they, and adding the correct ending. At the bottom, there are some irregulars. So ir, to go. We don't say, if we take the verb I go, we know it's voy. Ir is obviously an IR verb. It doesn't become voya, it's actually vaya. So vaya, vayas, vaya, vayamos, vayáis, vayan. Se is a regular. We don't say soy. We don't say soya, it's sea. So sea, 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 and we just continue down. Seamos, sea, sean. And also I becomes aya. So there is on its own. We only say there is, don't we, from the verb. So we just use aya for that one. So there is in the present subjunctive is aya. So what you're going to do now is you're going to have a go at this grammar page. And I've actually made it easier for you. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to complete these sentences with the correct present subjunctive form of a suitable verb from the box. So if you look at the first one, it says Cuando yo blank este curso iré a otro insti. Some of you might be able to get that really quickly, but what I've done is next to it, I've put the translation in English and the word you are trying to write down in bold. So that sentence says, when I blank this course, I will go to another school. The blank is I finish, it's in bold. So you just need to write down the present subjunctive of the verb I finish. The reason why we're using subjunctive here is because it's a cuando phrase. They're all cuando phrases and they're all looking towards the future. They're all future phrases. So when I finish this course, I will go to another school. So the verb here is terminar. Okay, we're looking at the verb terminar, aren't we? We can know that terminar means to finish. If we say, so we know it's terminar, it's an AR verb. If I take terminar in the present tense, I finish, it's terminó. I know that for AR verbs, in the present subjunctive first person, I add an E. It like sort of flips on itself. So the first one we should have terminé. So cuando yo terminé ese curso iré a otro insti. If you go back a slide, that will make sense. Terminar is an AR verb. Just match it up to the AR verb in the previous slide and you'll get your ending. So you're going to work through those. There's also as well some harder ones in section 2. So complete each of these sentences with the correct present subjunctive. So the first one is fumar. You want the they form of fumar. Fumar means to smoke. And I've also put in some help for you. So I've put the first person irregulars of the subjunctive tenses because they are quite hard. If you think you can do that super well, if you've done all of that super well, section 3 is even more tricky. Translate this text in Spanish and watch out for the underlined verbs that need to be in the present subjunctive. So the underlined verbs are where you would put the present subjunctive. This should take you quite a big chunk of time and you're obviously going to be flicking between the previous slides. So pause the video now, have a go at definitely the first activity. If you do that, find that quite easy, go on to 2. And if you find that one quite easy, go on to 3. The more of this you do, the better you're going to get. And it's also a really useful skill, just translating verbs, conjugating verbs, okay? Next slide will be the answers. So don't skip forward to that. Just have a go at this. Okay, so I'm going to leave those on the board there. You can see the answers quite clearly. Terminé, we already did together for the first one. So just have a look through those, pause the screen and you can mark them off. And when you send through your work, it will be great for us to see your answers. Okay, your next slide, we've got this text on the left. ¿Es posible una guerra mundial del agua? So is it possible a war on water? You need to have a go at answering 1 to 8 from reading the text. And at the bottom, I've put some vocab to help you. Pause the video here and have a go. Okay, that is the end of the lesson. If you send through your work, if you send through your work to your teachers, and we can have a go at marking it. Lesson 2, the video will be up later on in the week, and you can have a go at that lesson. But definitely send through your answers to this first series, and well done, because the subjunctive is really hard. So well done, and have a lovely day.